Welcome, my little couch potatoes, to the comfiest courtroom on the internet. I'm your host, Llama, and it's time for dramatic testimony, overruled objections, and absolutely unqualified opinions. So grab your snuggiest blanket, some delicious snacks, and get ready to watch court with your internet besties. This is Couch Court with Llama. After dark.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Couch Court with Llama After Dark. Tonight, we're going to be recapping Day 3's testimony in the trial of Virginia versus Brendan Banfield, and it has already been very, very interesting. It's going to be another day, another set of witnesses, and another step deeper into the evidence, and this is going to be a long one, you guys. Why am I so small? Wait a second. What? I'm a mini llama. I think I'm supposed to be the bigger. Oh, there we go. Ooh, that's right. That's right. After Darks, all unedited, all my hot takes, some burping, some wild facial expressions, I'm sure. So let's go ahead and get started into it. All right. So first up for today was Sergeant Kenner Fortner testified that he had been employed with the Fairfax County Police Department for approximately 10 years and was assigned as a crime scene detective in 2023. On February 24th, 2023, he had not been a detective for very long. Oh, wow. And this was one of his first cases, probably? Ooh. Anyway, so on February 24th, 2023, he responded to a residence on Stablebrook Way to assist with the scene. To assist with scene documentation for a reported homicide. Now, in case you don't know, I cover a whole trial for about 8 hours during the day. So I have already said a lot of words today. So there's going to be some stumbling and some mispronunciations, and it's fine because we're all besties. So anyway, Fortner's primary responsibility was photographing the scene. So after he gets there, the scene had already been secured by patrol officers. Christine Banfield, victim, had been transported to the hospital, and Joseph Ryan, other victim, was the only person remaining inside the home, and he had been pronounced dead at the scene. So Fortner documented that there were 4 vehicles associated with the crime scene. There's a black Hyundai Tucson. You ever see those words and you're like, have I ever seen that word before? And you're like, yeah, I have. It's Tucson. The C is silent. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's Tucson. I don't know. Now it's not the time, Llama. It's late. Anyway, he notices a black Hyundai Tucson, a government vehicle registered to the IRS and driven by Brendan Banfield. That's right, because he was an IRS law enforcement agent, which is when I learned that they had those. Didn't even know that. So they also found a navy blue Volkswagen ID registered to Christine Banfield, a silver Jeep Cherokee registered to Constance Ryan. That's the car that Joseph Ryan arrived in. A white Ford Fusion registered to Brendan Banfield, which was later photographed in the police crime scene vehicle bay after being moved from the cul-de-sac. That was the vehicle, if you remember from Juliana's testimony, where her and the young daughter, very young daughter of Christine and Brendan, was in the car while she called Brendan to be like, oh my gosh, there's a scary man going into your home. Come home quick. And then he's like, all right, I'm here. How about you take my 2-year-old daughter out of the car and follow me into the house when I have my gun drawn and think there's danger. Okay. So he documented all those vehicles. Then Fortner described the basement as a walkout style basement with ground level access. He outlined the layout, which included an unfinished storage area, a living room area with a desk and computer, a bedroom, a home gym area, and a bathroom. He testified that he did not observe anything unusual in the basement. He noted a hip height gate at the bottom of the basement stairs and a lock at the top of the stairs, which was not engaged at the time he observed it. I assume the gate was because the daughter's very, very young. Now, on the first floor, Fortner photographed the kitchen and living area. He identified a bar cart with 2 stools positioned in front of a window. He also documented a laptop located on the kitchen island. Fortner located Christine Banfield's cell phone inside the middle top drawer of the bar cart and photographed both the front and back of the phone. I feel like we heard earlier testimony that her drawer or her phone was in the bedroom. Or maybe it was this. I could be getting my trials confused. I don't know. Interesting, though, that it would be there, but okay. Sorry, yes. Oh no. Does Llama have the hiccups? I don't know. I hope not. Whatever. This is why y'all love me. It's fine. I'm such a classy lady. This is how you know it's not AI, Llama. All right, where were we here? So Fortner photographed a bedroom identified as belonging to Juliana. He identified the room based on a Brazilian flag, because that's where she was from, above the bed, and an expired Virginia driver's license for Juliana found on a dresser. He observed personal hygiene items on the dresser and noted clothing in the closet, including red lingerie-style items and a yellow T-shirt with green trim on the sleeves. Fortner testified that he looked for signs of forced entry or struggle throughout the house and did not observe any indicators of forced entry or disturbance outside of the primary bedroom. Now, Fortner returned to the residence on October 13th, 2023, several months later. And I think this was around the time that Juliana was arrested. So he was there to execute a subsequent search warrant and again photograph the home. In Juliana's former bedroom, he observed that the closet was now empty. Interesting. He later found that Juliana's clothing moved into the primary bedroom closet, including the same distinctive red lingerie items and the yellow T-shirt with the green trim. I don't like that. Don't like that one bit. Also, why would you want to sleep in there? Did they get a new bed? Did they keep the bed? Oh. He also observed changes to the primary bedroom, including new flooring, new furniture, well, at least there's that, and the removal of photographs of Brendan and Christine Banfield. Oh, they are just like wiping everything clean. Like, nope, we're done. Wow. Okay. These had been replaced with photographs of Brendan Banfield and Juliana together. What? It's been, okay, what? This is October. Let's do some calendar math. This happened in February. This is what? 8 months? Sure. As I look down, as Amos is counting on her fingers to confirm. 8 months. And y'all had pictures up. It was as if she never existed. Oh, shame. I do not like that. That is rude. On cross-examination, Fortner explained that his assessment of no forced entry or struggle outside the primary bedroom was based on his inspection of doors, door frames, debris, and furniture placement. He stated these observations were made contemporaneously, oh, yes, nailed it, with his photographic documentation shortly after 9 a.m. on February 24th, 2023. He also confirmed he was not directed to find evidence of a break-in and that photographing and documenting the scene comprehensively was part of his standard crime scene duties. Okay, I think there was the fire marshal guy in the Canero trial. I think that's what you probably should have been saying today, but okay. Next up, Owen J. Folk testified that on February 24th, 2023, he was employed as a crime scene detective with the Fairfax County Police Department. He stated, though, that he is now retired. Could you imagine retiring from a job and then you got to come back and testify years later and you're like, I just thought I was done with this place. But nope, you got to come back. Wild. Anyway, he testified that on the date he examined a vehicle later determined to be to Joseph Ryan, or belonging to be to Joseph Ryan. During his inspection, he observed two red cellular phones located on the driver's side floorboard of the vehicle. He specified that the phones were positioned underneath the brake and gas pedals. Well, that's weird. How would there be two phones there? Mystery. Photographs of the phone were shown to Folk, and he confirmed that the images accurately depicted the phones as he observed them in the vehicle. He testified that one photograph showed the phones with the vehicle door open. Folk further stated that the phones were collected as evidence and that he did not disturb or move them prior to photographing them. He confirmed that the photographs accurately reflected the original location where the phones were found. Folk's testimony was brief and he was not recalled. So enjoy the rest of your retirement, Mr. Folk. After him was Detective Terry Leach, who testified that on February 24th, 2023, he was employed as a detective with the Fairfax County Police Department and assigned to major crimes within the crime scene section. Okay. He stated he had approximately 22 years of experience in crime scene work, including the last 8.5 years in major crimes. On that date, he responded to the incident at Stablebrook Way at approximately 9:44 a.m. and was assigned as the lead crime scene detective. Oh, he should have some good answers for us. Like, what was those phones? It's a weird place for those phones to be. Leach explained that as lead crime scene detective, he served as the primary liaison between the crime scene unit and the lead homicide detective, managed and delegated scene tasks, coordinated personnel and equipment needs, and was ultimately responsible for evidence handling, documentation, and laboratory submissions. It's interesting how New Jersey seems to understand the concept of a lead crime scene detective, unlike the Massachusetts State Police, where apparently there's no such thing. We're all on this together. Anywho, if you know, you know. So, upon entering the Banfield primary bedroom, Leach described the layout, including a sitting area separated by a see-through fireplace, the bed with nightstands, multiple dressers, and double doors leading to the primary bathroom and closet. Oh, so they have is it a two-sided fireplace, I wonder? Oh, that's cool. Joseph Ryan's body was still on the scene when Leach arrived and remained there for several hours while a search warrant was obtained. The scene was documented and the medical examiner responded. Leach testified that the scene was documented through extensive photography and use of a Faro laser scanner, which uses LiDAR technology to create precise 3D and 2D models of the residence. Oh, so like they did with the Brian Koberger, the Idaho Fort House. I think that's what they use. I'm pretty sure. He used these models to orient the jury to the second floor layout, including the primary bedroom, hallway, guest room, and Juliana's bedroom. I don't think they did this for the Canero trial that we're watching during the day, but I don't even know if it's around then, but man, it would be helpful if they did, I'm sure. Leach identified photographs depicting Joseph Ryan's body as it appeared upon arrival. He observed that Ryan's shirt was pulled up, a chest seal was present, his pants were unbuttoned and disheveled, one leg extended straight while the other was partially under the bed, and his head rested on a dog bed. Under Ryan's head were Christine Banfield's pajama bottoms and black underwear. Leach noted blood on Ryan's face, hands, chest, arms, and clothing. Leach testified that the body-worn camera footage showed Ryan's shirt and hand positioning had changed during life-saving efforts. He also described blood flow patterns consistent with blood originating near Ryan's head and pooling on the carpet. He observed damage to the bed frame, including chipped laminate material, which could be pulled back by hand. After Ryan's body and the bedding were removed, Leach documented a blood stain on the bed frame, which he swabbed and submitted to the laboratory. Ooh. It's a tough read. Let's see. Are we talking about next, Mr. Leach? Thank you. Leach documented and collected multiple bedding items, including blankets, a sheet, and a towel, all of which showed blood staining. He testified that these items had been moved during life-saving efforts and could have transferred blood to the carpet. The towel did not appear heavily saturated. Leach identified areas where Christine Banfield's body had been located based on body-worn camera review. After pulling back the carpet, he observed that blood had soaked through the carpet and foam pad to the subfloor, with more blood deposition? I don't know why I find that word so funny right now. Deposition, whatever, it's there on one side than the other. Again, it's 10:30 at night. All right, forgive me. He explained that certain large carpet stains were not tested because the state lab did not see probative value given the known body location. However, he took swabs from other carpet stains, distinguishing between a large pooled stain and passive blood droplets, both of which were submitted for testing. Now, Leach testified that a knife was found partially concealed under blankets near the bed, blade up with only the handle initially visible. Body-worn camera footage showed the knife had been fully exposed earlier and moved during life-saving efforts, including being stepped on. The knife was collected and submitted to the lab. And just to remind everyone, myself included, Christine was a tough here, that's for sure. But she was taken to the hospital. Like, she was still alive, I guess. So that's why everything's kind of a mess in there. So Leach also documented 2 firearms at the scene, a Glock 19 millimeter with a mounted light, which was Brendan Banfield's duty weapon. I didn't know that they have a light automatically on them. Interesting. And a Glock 43X. The Glock 19 was found on the right side of the bed and had been moved from its original position as confirmed through body-worn camera footage. And we heard from the guy yesterday, I think it was, that said he moved it to secure it for good reason. Blood stains were observed on the bed sheet, one attributed to medical waste and another selected for laboratory testing. Leach documented bloodstains on walls, a laundry basket, and other surfaces. Oh my God, why is everywhere? He collected and submitted swabs from these areas. He explained his use of markings and annotations on photographs to guide laboratory testing and avoid unnecessary processing. Leach documented Christine Banfield's pajama bottoms and underwear, noting that one pant leg was inside out and the underwear crotch area was torn. He also observed a black shirt near the bed with jagged cuts across the back. Oh, that's interesting. A backpack found partially under Joseph Ryan contained multiple items, including exercise bands, a metal rod, lubricant, clothing, padlocks with keys, electrical tape, a mask, and a gag-like object. Oh, wow. Blood spatter was observed inside the backpack, which was documented and submitted to the lab. A receipt dated February 24th, 2023, found in Ryan's wallet listed. Oh, a receipt. Oh, gosh, I don't even know what I was thinking. The receipt listed personal lubricant, floss sticks, and apricot. Because why not? I like apricots. You know what? People don't eat enough apricots or apricots. Apricot. Tell me in the comments, do you say apricot or apricots? I must know. Because I've heard it both ways, and it depends where you're from. So I would love to know. And yeah, nope, not a peach. I could eat a peach for hours. That's from the movie Face Off, in case you didn't know the reference. I love Nicolas Cage in that movie. Anywho, back to this. All right, so Leach also wait a second, though. Back to the receipt. So, okay, he had a receipt for personal lubricant, floss sticks, which I'm glad he took care of his gums, and an apricot. So were the other things not things he brought? Were they planted there by Brendan and Juliana? Or maybe he already had his own collection. I don't know. I guess maybe we'll find out. Now, Leach also documented Brendan Banfield's clothing, including jeans, a shirt, and a coat, which were reconstructed on a mannequin based on body-worn camera footage. Oh, well, goodness gracious. Look at them using a mannequin instead of like Dr. Welcher in the Karen Reed trial, where he just dressed up as John O'Keefe. So I'm glad they used the mannequin. It's less weird that way. Oh, yes, that's true. You know, not shaming anybody. He was expected to go there for kinky sex. Remember that. Joseph was set up. All right. He thought he was going there a good time. If that's what you're into, fine by me. As long as it's consensual, I don't have a problem with it. But I just wonder if he did come with all that. Maybe. Excuse me. So let's see. Mannequin based on body-worn camera footage. Bloodstains were identified and specific areas selected by the lab for testing. Leach describes staining patterns on the jeans, including smears and distinct droplet patterns. Leach testified regarding bloodstains on Brendan Banfield's shoes and on Juliana's shoes and socks. Blood was found primarily around the soles and toe areas. Sorry, I gotta drink something. Oh, it's so cold and bubbly. And that's why you burp all the time, Llama. Let's see. So to determine how blood reached the socks, Leach disassembled the shoes and inspected the interior, finding no internal staining. He later submitted a shoe insert that tested positive for blood. Okay. Leach stated that he did not observe blood on Juliana's sweatshirt, t-shirt, or pants. He concluded by identifying blood staining on Joseph Ryan's t-shirt, which showed extensive blood coverage rather than isolated stains. Overall, Leach's testimony, nope, that's not, none of that's there. So that's what he had to say about that. So then he provided additional testimony about a defect observed in clothing that appeared consistent with damage caused by a projectile. Based on his observation, the defect appeared to be associated with a bullet strike. Leach testified regarding the processing of Joseph Ryan's pants. After photographing them, he consulted with the state laboratory due to questions surrounding the zipper, button, and waistband area. These questions arose from how the pants were positioned on Ryan's body. The pants were undone in the front and pulled down slightly, while the back of the pants was caught underneath Ryan's buttocks. So is that implying that somebody else had pulled his pants down? Based on these observations, Leach sought to determine whether the pants may have been manipulated. Oh, there we go. The state lab recommended specialized testing using an MVAC wet vacuum DNA collection method, which Fairfax County Police and the state lab did not have available at the time. As a result, the zipper, button, and waistband area were sent to DNA Labs International for processing. The right pant leg, which showed staining, was sent to Bode Laboratories. Why do I feel like I've heard of that place before? for a specialized stain analysis not performed by the state lab. Were they in Karen Reed too? Maybe not. Maybe it's a different case I'm thinking of. Leach explained that the goal of sending the pants to multiple labs was to attempt to generate additional probative evidence and better understand the origin and cause of the stains, and to see if maybe some fingerprints were there that shouldn't have been there. On cross-examination, Leach clarified that decisions regarding testing were made collaboratively with the state lab. He testified that the lab determines what evidence it will accept and test. You can't just go submitting everything all willy-nilly. All right, it costs a lot of money, takes a lot of time. You got to be very selective. Now, in this case, the state, right? Yes, okay, sorry. In this case, the state lab specifically recommended the use of DLI due to its access to the MVAC technology. Leach emphasized that as the investigation progressed, new questions arose, prompting additional submissions for testing. He testified that Joseph Ryan's pants were submitted to the state lab on May 15th, 2024, following these discussions. Supervisors and homicide detectives, including detectives Adele, Goodell, and Bryant, were kept informed as part of a team-based approach. Now, Leach testified extensively about bloodstains in the primary bedroom. He described 2 significant carpet bloodstains near the bed and dresser areas. While these stains soaked through the carpet and pad to the subfloor, they were not submitted for DNA testing. Leach explained that body-worn camera footage showing Christine Banfield's position provided context for the stains, even though no laboratory confirmation of the contributor was obtained, but that's pretty standard. He acknowledged that if an object were placed into a bloodstain and then moved, it is possible for blood to transfer to that object. He further testified that while Joseph Ryan's body was found near a dog bed, there was no definitive way to determine his exact position at the moment he was shot, and especially if his clothing was being manipulated. Leach testified that Brendan Banfield's firearm had blood on it. He stated that there was no way to determine the source of that blood. Okay. He acknowledged that it was possible the blood could have transferred to the firearm if it had come into contact with a large blood stain. Okay. The firearm was not tested for DNA. Leach explained that once a weapon is processed for firearms examination at the state lab, DNA testing is generally not conducted based on lab policy and contamination concerns. Okay, that makes a little sense, I suppose. He clarified that the determination is made by the laboratory, not by detectives. Prior to submission for firearms testing, the gun was visually examined and no hairs or fibers were observed. Oh, look at that. I had the lovely Amos with me behind the scenes, and guess what? She left me a note. Llama was right. Good job. So Bode Technology, the lab we were talking about just a few paragraphs ago, was the same company used in the Karen Reed trial. So boom, still retaining something in this brain that's so tired from this week. All right. So Leach testified that he observed carpet fibers and dog hair at the scene, which he documented visually and discussed with the lab. These items were not formally analyzed and no laboratory confirmation was obtained regarding their composition. Leach testified that surveillance video was collected from a McDonald's restaurant located at 2475 Centerville Road, approximately under 3 miles from the Banfield residence. He identified Brendan Banfield's black Hyundai Tucson in the footage. Sorry, I'm just going to pronounce it that way because why not? The video showed Banfield entering the McDonald's drive-thru at approximately 7:18 a.m., exiting and then re-entering the drive-thru, parking his vehicle at approximately 7:29 a.m. then entering the restaurant bathroom, remaining inside the bathroom for approximately 7 minutes, exiting the bathroom while on his phone at approximately 7:37 a.m., returning to his vehicle and leaving the area shortly after. What an interesting morning trip to McDonald's. Okay. Now, Leach testified that he later took custody of Brendan Banfield's and Juliana's cell phones after they had been processed by computer forensics. He identified photographs of the phone screens rather than the physical phones themselves. Okay. So on Brendan Banfield's phone, here's a few things. He got an incoming call from Juliana at 7:37 a.m. Hold on, let me go back up to... That's when he leaves the bathroom at McDonald's. Okay. Then there's 2 outgoing calls to Christine Banfield at 7:38 a.m., an outgoing call to Juliana within the same minute, 2 additional outgoing calls to Christine Banfield at 7:42 a.m., and subsequent missed calls during the period Banfield was interacting with law enforcement. Now, this dude is IRS law enforcement. And supposedly he just got a phone call from Juliana being like, oh, scary mystery man is going into the house. So instead of him calling other law enforcement, he's just like, nope, I'll go. Like what? Right? It's pretty dumb for being so educated. There's an Amos comment, and I agree. High five. So then on Juliana's phone, there's an outgoing call to Christine at 7:36 a.m., lasting 5 seconds. Cool. That's definitely enough to get somebody's attention when they call. Does the ringer even pick up by then? I don't know. Then an incoming call from Brendan at approximately 7 a.m. Okay. An outgoing 911 call at 7:47 a.m., lasting 7 seconds. Apparently, she does not know how long phones take to answer, but okay. A missed return call from a 911 number. We did learn about that the other day. 2 canceled 911 calls at 7:48 and 7:49 a.m., and then an outgoing 911 call beginning at approximately 8:02 a.m., lasting 8 minutes. Why so many? That's not normal, Juliana. Very suspicious. Don't be suspicious. All right. Leach then testified that he did not personally collect the phones and could not say whether blood was present on them. He explained that once forensic analysis was complete, the phones were inventoried and placed into the property room. All right. Next witness for the state, witness number 10, Matthew Niederreiter. That's right. I'm not going to sing the song. But Amos and I got a good laugh before this. Some grace too. If you know, you know. So Matthew Niederreiter testified that he is employed at a window factory where his work involves selling windows and coordinating home improvement projects related to windows and doors. Niederreiter was shown a document from his employer, the Window Factory, the most creative business name I've ever heard of. He confirmed that the materials included information regarding a triple pane glass window option. When asked to explain triple pane glass, Niederreiter testified that most customers select double pane windows, which provide strong energy efficiency and can be enhanced with energy coatings to meet Energy Star standards. Okay. I don't really know much about windows. I might have to go on a Llama Learns About. He explained that triple pane windows represent an additional level of performance beyond standard energy protection from sunlight. Niederreiter testified that triple pane windows provide approximately 30% improvement in both energy efficiency and noise reduction compared to other options. Nita Ryder was then shown an invoice from the window factory. He confirmed that the invoice reflected a large number of windows ordered for the Banfield residence located at 13230 Stablebrook Way. He testified that the windows were ordered in August and installed sometime in December. Ooh. Sure, could be nothing. They could just need new windows, but were they planning it for that freaking long? Ugh. How horrible. Also, this is a great, I wonder if the window factory is going to get hit with business after this. It was basically like plugging and selling everybody windows. So if you are in the Fairfax County area and you need windows, see Matthew Niederreiter at the window factory. You're welcome, window factory. Please sponsor me. Thanks. What is, hold on, Amy's. You need a window? You need a rider. Bravo, Amos. Bravo. Sorry, that was very funny. I know this is all very serious, but sometimes we have to find the laughter so we don't cry. Now, the next witness, oh, this one is also, talk about a name that matches a job description, okay? I was like, what? So next witness is Amy Shotwell, and she testified that she's employed at Silver Eagle Group in Ashburn and has worked there since 2012. She stated that in the 3 to 4 months preceding February 24th, 2023, she was employed in that role. Now, Shotwell explained that she is a manager for the business's federal firearms license and the custodian of records related to firearms transactions. I told you, her last name really fits her job. Shotwell testified that she provided business records in this case, which were admitted as, excuse me, llama burp, that were put into evidence. She identified several categories of records contained within the exhibit. She first identified a federal firearms transaction record, explaining that it is completed when a prospective purchaser seeks to take possession of a firearm from a licensed dealer. She testified that the form documents a transaction between an individual and a dealer. She further identified a continuation page reflecting the associated background check used in conjunction with the federal form. Now, Shotwell next identified a record generated from Silver Eagle Group's front desk check-in software, which tracks customers who enter the facility to use the firearms range. She testified that one such record belonged to Brendan Banfield and reflected visits to the range on October 29th, 2022 and December 23rd, 2022. She explained that the range is a firearms shooting range. Shotwell also identified a receipt of payment for a firearm corresponding to the previously discussed federal form. She testified that the record reflected the purchase of a Glock 43X pistol on January 28th, 2023. Oh my gosh, a month before the murder. What? Oh, no way. Additionally, Shotwell identified a separate visit detail record for Juliana, which showed that she appeared at the range on the same dates as Brendan Banfield, October 29th and December 23rd, 2022. What a coincidence. So could be several months of plotting and planning. Shotwell testified that in her review of Silver Eagle Group's business records, she did not locate any record indicating that Christine Banfield had used the firing range or that she had accompanied Brendan Banfield to the range under her name. Kind of weird you take your innocent au pair to the firing range, but, not your wife, so she can learn to protect her children. I mean, maybe she didn't want to learn, but okay. Now, on cross-examination, Shotwell testified that the firearms transactions was handled by a Silver Eagle Group employee named Samuel Hummel, who was listed as the assisting representative on the paperwork and was employed at the business at the time of the transaction, but he no longer works there. So, wonder what you're doing, Samuel. She testified that the business records do not reflect the purchaser's reasons for buying a firearm or any discussions that may have occurred during the transaction. She further explained that the range records reflect entrance or check-in data only and do not record exits. She stated that identifying whether another individual accompanied a customer on a given date would require searching records by the individual's name. Shotwell testified that she was asked to retrieve records for Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez, which is why their records were produced together. She stated that she had no knowledge of whether the firearm purchase was ever used by either individual and that her testimony was limited strictly to business records. She confirmed that she did not personally recognize Brendan Banfield and relied solely on the documentation provided. Well, thank you for that testimony, Amy Shotwell. So next up is Douglas Gutekunst. It's a name. It's a name. We definitely looked up how to say that before we did this, because if you saw how it was spelled, I might be saying a word a lot of people would not be happy to hear. But that's not their name, so it's fine. All right, so Douglas Gutekunst testified that he is employed as a fingerprint specialist with the Fairfax County Police Department and is assigned to Navarres, the Northern Virginia what did I just say? Virginia. Sorry. The Northern Virginia Regional Identification System. He stated that he has worked as a fingerprint examiner for approximately 8 years, all of which have been with the Fairfax County Police. His duties include the examination and comparison of fingerprints and palm prints to determine whether two impressions originated from the same source. He estimated that he had conducted hundreds of thousands of fingerprint examinations during his career. He is a member of the International Association for Identification and has testified in court 7 or 8 times, all in Fairfax County. I think that's like one investigative job. That's so tedious. And then, well, they probably don't have to do it as much anymore. But back in the day, before computers and all that matching, they had to use that little eyeglass thing or whatever. Or maybe that's just what they did for TV reenactments on Unsolved Mysteries or something. I don't know. Do they have the little magnifying eyeglass? Jeweler glass, I think it's called. All right. So anyway, enough llama tangents. This is a long one. Now, Gutekunst explained that a latent print is an invisible or barely visible reproduction of friction-ridged skin left behind when a person touches an object. Latent prints require processing to be visualized and are typically received by his office after processing by crime scene personnel. He testified that latent prints can vary widely in quality and may be fragmented, small, or degraded depending on surface conditions and processing methods. He explained that fingerprint examiners evaluate prints using 3 levels of detail. Level 1, overall ridge flow and pattern type. Level 2, individual ridge characteristics such as bifurcations or ridged endings. And level 3, fine details such as pores and ridge edge characteristics. It's so interesting. He described the ACE V, or yes, it's either ACE V. Oh, it's definitely ACE V. Never mind. Finish reading ahead of time, Llama. He described the ACE V methodology, which stands for analysis, comparison, evaluation, and verification, used in fingerprint examination. Possible conclusions are identification, exclusion, or inconclusive. All conclusions are independently verified by a second qualified examiner. Now, Gudicus Kunst testified that he received multiple versions of a single latent print that were suitable for comparison. He also obtained 4 sets of known fingerprints. He testified that he personally collected known fingerprints from Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield at the medical examiner's office on or about February 28th, 2023, using ink and paper. And then he also collected fingerprints from Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez as Fairfax County Public Safety Headquarters on March 2nd, 2023, also using ink and paper. Why so many days after for the people that were there? Okay. Now, Gouda Kuntz testified that he compared the latent print to the known prints of Christine Banfield, Juliana, Joseph Ryan, and Brendan. He concluded the latent print did not originate from Christine or Juliana, and the comparison was inconclusive as to Joseph Ryan or Brendan, meaning the print could neither be identified as theirs nor excluded as theirs. So that was useful. He testified that an inconclusive result carries no inference for or against a particular individual. The latent print he examined was provided digitally on a CD and was labeled as originating from a knife, specifically the knife that's in evidence. So they don't know whose print that was on. Okay. Now, on cross-examination, Gouda Kuntz testified that Brendan cooperated fully when his fingerprints were collected and that there were no difficulties obtaining the prints. He reiterated that inconclusive results do not support any inference of identification or exclusion. I know I just said that, but just a reminder. So he also then testified that while he examined additional fingerprint evidence in the case, he was not asked to analyze fingerprints from cell phones, laptops, or a gun safe. He explained that fingerprint examiners do not collect latent prints from the crime scenes. That responsibility lies with other personnel, and examiners only analyze what is submitted to them. Okay. Gouda Kuntz also testified regarding a later request involving processed letters that contained friction ridge marks. Okay. He stated that he was unable to complete that analysis because he never received the necessary known exemplars from individuals known to have handled the letters, despite multiple requests. He confirmed that no further work was completed on the item due to the absence of exemplars. So then on redirect, Goodens testified that the exemplars he was awaiting were expected from defense counsel's office and that he never received them. He was designated as potentially subject to recall and then was sent about his day. So defense is like, well, you didn't send in this stuff for all these other exemplar things that were asked of you, trying to make him look lazy. And then the state is like, who asked you to do that? It was the defense who didn't give them to him. So why would you even ask that question, defense? Yikes. All right. Oh, it's weird. It's like a hiccup, but not. All right. No, it's not. Stop it with the mouse. You're fired, Amy. Firing you right now. All right. So next state witness is Kara McCarthy. She testified that she is the supervisor of the firearms and tool mark section at the Virginia Department of Forensic Science Northern Laboratory. She stated that she has been employed by DFS for nearly 12 years and has been assigned to the firearms and tool mark section for her entire tenure. McCarthy explained that firearms identification involves determining whether a bullet, cartridge case, or other ammunition component was fired from a specific firearm. She testified that this is possible because firearm manufacturing processes impart microscopic markings onto firearm components, which in turn transfers unique markings onto ammunition components during firing. These markings can be evaluated using microscopy. Yeah, I think that's how we say it. Using a demonstrative exhibit, that's one of my favorite words, by the way, in case you didn't know. I don't get to use it that often, but I like it. Demonstrative. McCarthy, that just means putting together a thing that you can look at, like a chart or something, to demonstrate. But demonstrate is not as fun of a word as demonstrative. Anyway, can you guys tell I'm like a little a little loopy from the day? Just we're fine. We're fine. We're professional. We're good. All right. So, using a demonstrative exhibit, McCarthy explained the components of a cartridge: the primer, cartridge case, propellant, and bullet. She described the operation of a semi-automatic firearm, including chambering, firing, extraction, and ejection. She testified that her laboratory examinations included visual and physical inspection of firearms to assess functionality and safety, followed by test firing. Ammunition components are examined microscopically and compared to test fires. McCarthy testified that she was asked to analyze firearms, magazines, ammunition components, and a t-shirt in this case. Interesting. McCarthy identified Commonwealth's exhibit as a Glock Model 19 9mm Luger pistol. She testified that a flashlight was attached to the firearm and that it was removed for examination. After conducting a visual and physical examination and test firing, she concluded that the firearm was in proper mechanical operating condition with functioning safety features. She identified item 1 on her certificate of analysis as a 9mm Luger cartridge case. After microscopic comparisons with test fires from the Glock 19M, she concluded that the cartridge case had been fired from that firearm. She further testified regarding item 80, which consisted of 3 bullet fragments and 2 lead fragments recovered during the autopsy of Joseph Ryan. One of the bullet fragments was microscopically compared to test fires from the Glock 19M. I wonder, so like that's his service weapon, right? He's IRS law enforcement or whatever. But was he technically on duty? I mean, I would think regular police, if they use their service weapon, they have to do like their own investigation, don't they? If so, why would this fool be using his own work gun? It's like, seems like a bad idea, but okay. Let's see. She further identified item 81 as a bullet recovered during the autopsy of Joseph Ryan. After comparison to test fires from Glock 43X, she concluded that the bullet had been fired from that firearm. Okay. McCarthy testified that she later conducted a muzzle-to-target distance determination examination. For this analysis, she used item 83, which is a t-shirt, the Glock Model 43X pistol, and associated ammunition. She explained that muzzle-to-target distance determination examines gunshot residue patterns to estimate how far the firearm's muzzle was from the target at the time of firing. She described how gunshot residue forms a cone-shaped pattern and can be evaluated visually, microscopically, and chemically, then compared to test targets fired at known distances. She testified that the t-shirt exhibited a hole in the front left middle area, which was processed for gunshot residue. No gunshot residue pattern was found, and based on this, she concluded that the muzzle of the Glock 43X was greater than approximately 21 inches from the t-shirt at the time of the firing. She memorialized this conclusion in a separate certificate of analysis. So, on cross-examination, McCarthy testified regarding evidence handling procedures. She explained that firearms are submitted to DFS through evidence receiving specialists, assigned laboratory numbers, and transferred to examiners. She testified that the Glock Model 19M was received in a closed brown bag with a zip tie through the action, a flashlight attached, and possible biological material present. She did not clean the firearm and stated that analysis of biological material is outside her area of expertise. She testified that firearms may be submitted in the condition in which they are recovered, and that in general, DNA or latent print testing would occur prior to firearms examination. She confirmed that the Glock Model 19M had been test fired for Nibbin entry prior to her examination. All right, let me take a drink here. All right. Next state witness number 14, Catherine Colombo. I'll tell you what, these witnesses today have some great names. I just want to let them know that. I love that. Now, Catherine Colombo testified as a forensic scientist employed by the Virginia Department of Forensic Science. Colombo testified that her duties include examining evidence for bodily fluids, such as blood and semen, conducting DNA testing, issuing laboratory reports, and testifying in court. She stated she has testified as an expert witness approximately 30 times in Fairfax County alone. The court accepted her as an expert in forensic science and DNA analysis without objection. Colombo testified that she developed DNA profiles for 4 individuals involved in the case: Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan, blood samples from the physical evidence recovery kits, and Brendan Banfield, Juliana, buccal cheek swabs, and the knife, I guess. Testing of red-brown stains from the blade of the knife indicate blood. So yes, the knife. Colombo developed the same DNA profile from 2 blade locations and testified that Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor. Brendan Banfield, Juliana, and Joseph Ryan were eliminated. A 3rd stain from the underside of the handle produced a DNA mixture. Brendan and Juliana were eliminated, and the mixture was referred to another analysis for further evaluation regarding Christine and Joseph Ryan. Next, Colombo testified that spermatozoa. Oh,
yeah, spermatozoa.
Okay, we got elbow feet. Of course you would know that.
Do you know what a spermatozoa is?
Yes.
Do you know what an ovum is?
No. I don't know. I've used my brain a lot today. Excuse me.
Ovums are your eggs, babe.
Well, you're an ovum.
Spermatozoa is my little dadpoles.
We are not here for that kind of lesson, sir. This is After Dark, though.
Just change it to dadpole.
Or Lollapalooza. We're just going to call it that. No, we learned a new word today. Spermatozoa. Okay. Anyway, so Colombo testified that the spermatozoa were identified on stained areas of a fitted bedsheet from Juliana's bedroom. DNA analysis showed that Brendan Banfield could not be eliminated as the contributor of the sperm fraction. Shark Pikachu face. The non-sperm fraction was a DNA mixture in which Brendan Banfield and Juliana could not be eliminated, while Christine and Joseph were eliminated. Oh my gosh, what? Colombo testified that no male DNA was detected in vaginal, cervical, and rectal or oral samples. Blood was detected on the breast hand, palm, and fingernail samples. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Christine, by the way, that we're talking about. So most samples yielded DNA attributed primarily to Christine Banfield, with limited additional DNA suggesting possible male contribution. These samples were identified as candidates for Y chromosome testing. Now, for Joseph Ryan, Colombo testified that hand and fingernail samples from Joseph Ryan showed blood and contained DNA mixtures. Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor to DNA profiles found on John Ryan's hands and fingernails, while Brendan and Juliana were eliminated. Well, that's not a surprise. Next, blood from the wall and carpet swabs was attributed to Joseph Ryan, with other individuals eliminated. A swab from the front of the laundry basket produced a DNA mixture in which Christine and Joseph could not be eliminated. A swab from the side of the basket contained blood attributed to Christine Banfield. Colombo testified regarding DNA mixtures found on a bed frame. The mixture referred for further analysis. Brendan Banfield's coat had multiple stain areas producing mixtures. Some referred for further analysis. Juliana's shoes, multiple bloodstains. Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as the major contributor in most samples. A fitted sheet from the primary bedroom, DNA mixture, referred for further analysis. A sneaker insert from Juliana. Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as the major contributor. The probability greater than 1 in 8.1 billion. So Brendan Banfield's jeans, blood droplets attributed to Christine Banfield as the major contributor. Joseph Ryan's backpack and blood attributed to Joseph Ryan. So I'm pretty sure Brendan shouldn't have droplets on his stuff. Not good for you, Brendan. Several additional items, including hearing protection, socks, and a high-end swab, did not yield usable DNA profiles. Next, Colombo tested the Y chromosome testing, was conducted on selected samples to better isolate the male DNA. And the results included the fingernail and breast hand samples from Christine produced Y DNA mixtures with limited interpretive value. Right backhand and left palm samples from Christine produced a major Y DNA profile consistent with Joseph Ryan or his paternal male relatives. Brendan Banfield was eliminated as a contributor to these profiles. So we definitely know that both Joseph and Christine definitely touched, like there was some interaction. It wasn't just like killed separately, like, yeah. So the cartridge casing swabs did not contain sufficient DNA for analysis. Hand swabs from Brendan Banfield showed his DNA, but additional minor DNA components were either inconclusive or of limited value. She acknowledged that hand washing prior to collection could remove blood or DNA. Because let's not forget, they were like, yeah, Brendan, go ahead, you go wash those bloody hands off in the crime scene that's in your marital bedroom with your wife and some guy, and you're open. Yeah, it's fine. You go clean up, buddy. Freaking what? So next up is Dr. Susan Greenspoon. I told you there was a lot of witnesses today, but don't worry, we're almost through them. So Dr. Susan Greenspoon testified as a forensic molecular biologist employed by the Virginia Department of Forensic Science, where she worked for over 24 years. So she did all that sort of stuff. She testified that her primary responsibilities, hold on just a second. Sorry. It was
Come
Zoe.
on, lady swan.
It's fine. I'll just get it all on recording.
Where's the other one? Kita.
It's do 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 do. Babe. Anyhow, all right. You know what? We'll keep reading.
Kita.
It's fine. Or not.
Oh, she's inside.
She's inside, babe.
I thought you were outside.
She was not outside.
I thought you were
She was inside.
I'm sorry. Let me check.
Okay. So I'm recording.
Okay, record.
Okay. So let's get to Dr. Greenspoon's testimony. All right. So Dr. Greenspoon testified that her primary responsibilities include leading the research and validation program for the forensic biology unit, performing specialized DNA casework, including probabilistic genotyping and relationship testing, and a whole bunch of other testing that I don't think we need to get into all that. I think that's fine. All right. So she is accepted as an expert witness. So she then goes and starts explaining the distinction between the PowerPlex fusion system and the true allele casework system. PowerPlex fusion is used to generate DNA profiles through amplification and visualization of specific genic regions. True allele, by contrast, analyzes raw DNA data from mixture samples and uses probabilistic modeling to infer the most likely contributed profiles. Oh, I think that's what they're doing with the Canero trial. I think that's the kind of DNA evidence they're expecting there. So that's interesting. The software tests millions of models and produces likelihood ratios to assess whether a person of interest is more likely to be a contributor than an unrelated individual. Interesting. I hear this is very controversial, by the way. Dr. Greenspoon testified that all DNA profiles and raw electronic data used in her analysis were generated by forensic scientist Catherine Colombo. Excuse me. Dr. Greenspoon received this data through DFS's secure system and used it exclusively for probabilistic genotyping analysis. So using true allele, Dr. Greenspoon analyzed a DNA mixture from the exterior rear lower left side of Brendan Banfield's coat. She estimated the mixture contained 3 contributors based on duplicate and concordant analyses. Brendan Banfield basically could not be eliminated as a contributor. So, okay. Dr. Greenspoon testified that there was strong statistical support for Brendan Banfield being a contributor to DNA found on his own coat. Regarding Juliana, the likelihood ratios were deemed uninformative and inconclusive, and no conclusions could be drawn. For Christine, the likelihood ratios were extremely strong, approximately 18 billion times more likely, supporting her contribution to the mixture. Dr. Greenspoon testified that the analysis supported both Brendan Banfield and Christine Banfield as contributors to the DNA mixture on the coat. Okay. For another stain on the coat, Dr. Greenspoon testified that Christine and Joseph Ryan could not be eliminated as contributors. Dr. Greenspoon analyzed a blood stain from a fitted sheet using true allele and estimated 2 contributors. The results showed that Christine Banfield could not be eliminated, while likelihood ratios reaching into the septillion and octillion ranges across population groups. Joseph Ryan also could not be eliminated, with similarly extremely strong statistical support. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if I'm really following all this, but I've also been on a lot today, so maybe it might hit me tomorrow. If you know what they're talking about, because Llama is in Delulu land right now, please let me know in the comments what they're talking about. Okay, great, thanks. So Dr. Greenspoon reviewed reviewed a certificate of analysis prepared by DFS colleague Lisa Sharp Mayerwood and testified to those findings. All right, so the knife handle, the underside near the blade handle, the DNA mixture was estimated to contain 2 contributors. The likelihood ratios provided strong statistic support for Christine and Joseph as contributors. The mixture was also estimated to, the side of the bed frame. The mixture was also estimated to contain 2 contributors and that Christine and Joseph could not be eliminated. Dr. Greenspoon testified that while blood was detected on the knife handle, the DNA mixture could have originated from blood, skin cells, or a combination of both. So there was all of that. And did we really learn anything from that? Sounds a lot like, well, we can't eliminate people, but okay. I mean, I'm not surprised. Those were the results considering the scene. Just okay. Lastly, we've made it to the state's last witness of today, Madeline Crawley. She testified as a senior DNA analysis and trainer at Bodie Technology. That's right, the same one that testified in Karen Reed's trial. I don't think any of us had a problem with them. They seemed they're just DNA nerds and just went about their business, if I remember right from their testimony. So she's testified as an expert in DNA analysis previously and was accepted as an expert in this case without objection. So Crawley testified that Bodie Technology had been performing DNA testing in Virginia since 1995, is accredited, and maintains rigorous quality assurance procedures to ensure reliability of results. And yeah, I'm pretty sure there was nothing controversial about them in Karen's trial. It was just being like, yep, that was John's stuff, John's DNA, and it's a bunch of unknown male DNA from multiple males, and that was all they had to say. They weren't aperture, I guess is what I'm saying. Now, Crawley analyzed evidence provided by the Commonwealth. She confirmed that photographs previously admitted accurately depicted the items received for testing, including Joe Ryan's genes. Remember, they sent these in for special testing. So there was red-brown staining on the upper right thigh. 2 samples were tested, one with the stain and another surrounding it. Only reference DNA profiles were provided. No physical comparison samples were tested. So the results for the genes, the DNA profile was a mixture of 3 or more individuals. Major component matches Joseph Ryan, probability of unrelated match less than 1 in 187 septillion in the U.S. population. It's specifically the U.S. population, but okay. That it matches Christine Banfield, probability of unrelated match less than 1 in 83 sextillion in the U.S. population. Brendan Banfield and Juliana's were excluded as contributors to the major component. Some major components could not be resolved statistically, and no conclusions were drawn for them. Okay, so hold on. So her blood or DNA is also, this is avoiding the red-brown stain. Okay. Okay, because I don't know how her blood would be found on Joseph, but okay. I don't think I was understanding that right anyway. Yes, okay, so that was all the non-red-brown blood staining. Now, on to the red-brown staining. There we go. All right, so the DNA profile was also a mixture of 3 or more individuals. Matches Joseph Ryan, probability less than 1 in 180 septillion. Matches Christine Banfield, probability of less than 1 in 12 sextillion. Brendan and Juliana were excluded as contributors to the major component. certain minor components could not be resolved due to potential allele dropout. No conclusions were drawn for them. Okay. Okay. So, let me take a drink here just a second. Well, yes, Brendan and Juliana were not bleeding. But isn't the theory that Joseph shows up at the house, right? He's having some sort of interaction with Christine, who's probably freaked the fuck out. All right. And he is all playing in the role. So they are going to have like some touching, right? But the prosecution's theory, I thought, was that Brendan comes in, shoots Joseph, because Brendan claims Joseph is stabbing her in the neck. All right. But the prosecution's saying no. They came in, shot Joseph, and then killed Christine herself. So why would Christine's blood then be on Joseph's pants? I don't know. Also, it's been a very long day, so I could be interpreting this all wrong at this point. It's what time? It's 11:34 p.m. So, or Brendan. Oh, that's right. That's right, Amy. Oh, see, this is why. That's why you gotta have Amy around, because that's right. They said in, was it openings? I think it was. That, or somebody said, it was either that or Juliana, one or the other, said that after Brendan killed Christine in a really horrible way, that he then, I think it was Juliana that said that he then went over to Joseph's body and like dripped the blood off of his hand onto Joseph's body. That's right. Oh, see, this is why I need you around when it's this late at night. That makes so much more sense now, because I was like, how did that? That's right. That's right. Okay, because he's a crazy person. Okay. That all makes sense. See, sometimes Llama doesn't know all the things, and that's okay. All right, so Crowley explained that major and minor refer to the quantity of DNA from a contributor in the sample, not the amount of blood or other material. The major contributor has more DNA present in the analyzed portion of the evidence. Crowley testified that she was not informed why Fairfax County submitted the evidence to Bodie Technology instead of DFS, when such referrals from state labs to private labs are standard practice. And then she was done for the day. So, at the end of the day, though, it looks like there was some stipulations, which stipulations are facts that are like agreed on both sides. Like they don't even argue about it. They're like, yep, we both agree. That's exactly what happened. Those are the facts, right? So the Commonwealth concluded the day by introducing a stipulated DNA report from DNA Labs International regarding testing on the zipper, button, and waistband of Joseph Ryan's blue jeans. Oh, I almost forgot about that. The report indicated the presence of DNA from both Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan. Brendan and Juliana were excluded as contributors. The exhibit was admitted without objection. So they just didn't want to call the witnesses and have them fly in. But just remember, just because DNA is not found doesn't mean it didn't happen. You don't always transfer DNA. Actually, quite a few scenarios where you don't at all. So it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. They just don't have it. So the Commonwealth concludes for the day, and they only have 2 witnesses left for the state. And they said this was going to be like a month-long trial. All right. It just started on Tuesday. And today's Thursday, and the state is going to wrap it up on Tuesday because there is no court Friday or Monday for this. So you will not have any after darks until next Tuesday, and where the Commonwealth will wrap up their case, and the defense is expected to present their case Tuesday afternoon. What a doozy, you guys. Wow, what a long day. I still want to know about those cell phones that were under the pedals in Joseph's car. That's weird and interesting. Oh boy, what a mess that is over there. And they just moved right into the bedroom together, replaced the photos. Ugh. Did he get a life insurance policy for her? I bet. I wonder how much it was. Oh, Brendan, you're the worst. Not a fan. So I imagine they still need to look at, did they go through the, I wonder if they went through the FetLife combos or digital stuff. I don't think we've covered any digital things. So maybe that's their last two witnesses. I don't know. I don't get to watch this trial. My staff puts it all together for me since I'm in trial all day for New Jersey versus Paul Canero. So that's why we're learning about this together. But anyway, I want to thank you all for joining me for day 3. So you can catch another Couch Court After Dark next Tuesday. It's a 3-day weekend here in the States. So everyone have a safe, warm, if you're in the north, because it is going to be cold up here, holiday weekend. I will be in Couch Court with Llama live in the day tomorrow at 8:15 a.m. It's 11:40 my time. So I don't know if I'm going to be that chipper in the morning, but I'll do my best. Anywho, thank you all very much. And go forth and be amazing. So, bye.